Ever wondered what makes TV so powerful in Jamaica? Time to find out. Welcome to Global TV Group 358, where television meets innovation. We're not just about shows, we're about shaping society. In Jamaica, TV keeps you informed, connects diverse voices, and supports democracy. Imagine a Jamaica where broadcasters unite, sharing data and collaborating globally. That's us, a unified voice in the TV industry. Did you know TV advertising is still king? It drives website traffic, boosts brand equity, and powers integrated campaigns. Even in an age of digital, TV stands strong, resilient in tough times. Our Global TV Deck is your treasure trove of insights and data. With charts, graphs, and success stories, it's your guide to impactful TV advertising. Curious to learn more? Visit our website and see how Global TV Group 358 keeps television at the heart of entertainment in Jamaica. Get ready to binge watch the future.
President Mandela was in prison for 20 odd years. And he leave from the prison and take the seat of the president. Stone one, big him and Joe one stone, and it bring about feeling to all a man throw one stone, and it bring a bad feeling to all wicked men.
Stibby-dim day, stibby-dim day. We in Global TV says certain kind of friend we no keep, and some informer friend we lovely. We in Global, bona fide friend and bona tape. We in Global, we not promote them, we not support them. Look at them on the cheek, come here represent for we in Global TV. Check it.
Good evening, and welcome to the People's Point of View. It is Friday, the 28th of March. The year's flying, isn't it? Welcome to an evening of geopolitics. This evening, we will look at decisive leadership and economic freedom. It is no better time to look at geopolitics than in the current spheres that we're living in, with President Trump tirading, ranting, raving all across the place. Some leaders are standing up though. But if you are a jellyback knee wobbly lick spittle prime minister like ours, then you will have to creep, crawl, and bend. Welcome everyone. Thank you all for joining us this evening. To my community of party and all my family members, platform moderators, membership holders, viewers, subscribers, commenters, and trolls, good evening and welcome. And to the vases in East and West Portland. Not because it's geopolitical evening does not mean we won't take a run through you both this evening. Of course, after our geopolitical session, we will turn our attention to East and West Portland of the thieving and murderous vases. Good evening, everyone. Like and share the live, please. Welcome. Thank you. Mr. Udaya. Sharon Bernard, good evening. Debbie Jarvis TV, good evening and welcome. Thank you all for joining us. Beat and Teach, good evening to you on both platforms. Good evening, good evening. Good evening. Who else is here? Hold on. Let me roll through. Marcia Thomas, good evening. Evan Riley, good evening, good evening. Good evening, all. Jamrock 8766, good evening. Good evening. Welcome. Sandra Ellis, good evening. Sorry. Violet Watson, Monica Wills, Kevin Henry. Last time you know, Monica Wills, yes, good evening, and welcome. Paulette Lewis, good evening. Norman Ferguson, Marie, Evan Riley, who else have I seen? Margaret Wilson, good evening. Ransford Francis, good evening. Catherine Heitness, Kevin Davis, good evening, and welcome. Let me see who is on the tick. Sexy Karen, good evening. Beat and Teach, well, go on. Is it Neridia Lowers, I think. User 1326. Debbie and Wagwan. Is it Jival? Is it Shim? Or it can suffice a Ja. Anthony, Pauline. Good evening, everyone, and welcome. Tap up the screen, like, and share the live, please. I see McCullough, good evening. Darth Brown. David, good evening. We are going to go straight into our geopolitics session. And we are going to look this evening at no other than leadership. Leadership of our generation. Leadership of our lifetime. Leadership that will move a country forward in this geopolitical settings of how we are in the world at the moment. And when it comes to leadership, there is no better place to go than the Sahel region of Africa, Andrea Joan Hamilton Wilson, where President Chore is showing the entire world, but more so Africa, how decisive leadership. Yvonne, how you do? how decisive leadership works and how you can make leadership decision that benefits your people rather than the interests of the major geopolitical player in this whole malarkey. So we'll turn our attention to Ibrahim Toure and look at some of the new power play and move. Pauline Montague, good evening. Some of the power play and move that Mr. Toure is making, and I have no doubt that Mr. Toure's big moves is making a lot of president, even outside the Sahel region of Burkina Faso, like Senegal, Mali, Niger, and all that. But you have places like Ghana, you have Namibia, and I think South Africa is always on board. But more African country is coming on board when it comes to leadership and resources for economic independence. Mr. Toure is really leading the way in this. So let us look at a geopolitical segment from the Black Culture's Diary. Big up to the Black Culture's Diary, because they're always putting pink farm information out there for us to feed on in the geopolitical space. And of course, while we're doing geopolitics, throw ice or stone or anything pan the vase's house, I'm going to set dopey pan the vase them. I'm going to set dopey pan the vase them. Because I'm going to make me dopey go fling ice pan the vase them window and door at night time. And pan them rooftop. And make sure when they get up a man time, no stone, not there. But they hear stone, a lick all night. But when they get up, them can't find the stone. Larkland, good evening. Me I go set dopey pan the vase them. So now call the vase them and tell them, say, them dopey the pan road a wander, the wandering spirit of the vase is dopey, that road. So tell the vase them, say, draw close, because we still, I got asked for question them, all of us sound like scratch record vase. We really don't care. Because as often as we can sound like scratch record, you're always involved in the underworld for a government minister, Mr. Vaz. So of course we're going to run through the vases after we do geopolitics. So let's look at some big power play of Mr. Toure.
Et lorsque nous prenons par exemple le volet de l'orpaillage, votre thème en dit long sur l'employabilité des jeunes en milieu rural. Beaucoup de nos jeunes se retrouvent aujourd'hui sur les sites artisanaux de production, dans des conditions les plus pénibles.
It's not all French, won't be long.
C'est peut-être ce qui s'est passé en Europe ou en Amérique dans les années 1800, lorsque les hommes rentrent eux-mêmes dans des galeries, qu'ils creusent eux-mêmes pour sortir le minerai. Nos jeunes continuent de vivre cela, au péril de leur vie. Nous essayons aujourd'hui de moderniser un peu. C'est à l'issue de ça que nous avons créé donc la SONASP, une société qui va se permettre de pouvoir exploiter et de commercialiser nos substances précieuses, notamment l'or.
What if Africa's vast wealth, plundered for centuries, was finally returned to its rightful owners? What if the gold that built Western empires, gold that was taken from the African soil, was repatriated, and the power it brought with it was used to build up African nations? In a bold, groundbreaking move, Captain Ibrahim Traoré, the leader of Burkina Faso, has sparked a continent-wide movement to reclaim Africa's gold reserves from France and the United States, signaling a dramatic shift in the global power balance. This isn't just about reclaiming precious metals, but economic sovereignty. For decades,
I should have said this before. After you listen this, you will understand why the Donald Trump regime is making its push across the Caribbean, because they are losing Africa fast. They are losing Africa fast. their feet are being yanked from the soil of Africa. So, interesting to look at their moves in the Western Hemisphere because their Eastern ramping sharp America is breaking up.
African nations have been trapped in an exploitative cycle, their wealth extracted while their people remained impoverished. But now, with Traoré leading the charge, Africa is challenging the long-standing systems of colonial financial control. The demand for gold repatriation is not just a political stance. It is an undeniable demand for freedom, for Africa to finally claim control over its resources.
Doing well.
As this movement gains momentum, the West, specifically France and the US, find themselves in a state of panic, desperately trying to hold on to the economic dominance they've long taken for granted. But the question is, can this movement succeed? And more importantly, what will it mean for the future of Africa and the global economic order? Let's find out. To understand why the demand for gold repatriation is such a revolutionary act, we must first examine the long history of exploitation that has defined Africa's relationship with the West. Africa, a continent rich in natural resources, has been the target of systematic plundering for centuries. But this exploitation didn't stop with the colonial era. It evolved into...
You remember yesterday the Chinese called the Americans plunderers?
More insidious covert forms, where Africa's wealth was essentially held hostage in Western vaults, depriving generations of Africans of the chance to thrive.
Good evening.
One of the most egregious examples of this economic theft is the CFA franc system. Introduced in 1945 under French colonial rule, the CFA franc was a currency that pegged the economies of...
Monitor your blood sugar in 5 seconds. If it's inaccurate, you don't...
14 African nations to the French treasury, making them financially dependent on France long after the colonial period ended. The CFA franc system ensured that these nations couldn't control their monetary policies. But that wasn't the worst part. These 14 countries were required to deposit 50% of their foreign exchange reserves, including gold, into France's central bank as a guarantee for their currency's stability. Imagine this, an entire continent, rich in gold, diamonds, and other minerals, being forced to hand over half of its wealth to a foreign country. This wasn't a mutually beneficial agreement. This was a financial system designed to make sure that Africa stayed subservient.
Hold on there. You know, I think white people obey way? Honestly, they have to obey way. We can't fool so on obey, they ain't obey way. Never mind, continue.
To the West. While these African nations struggled with poverty and underdevelopment, France amassed vast reserves, all thanks to the gold and wealth that rightfully belonged to the African people. The story doesn't end there. Beyond the CFA franc system, the International Monetary Fund (IMF) and the World Bank took Africa's wealth in a more covert, yet equally damaging way. The IMF and World Bank, institutions largely shaped by Western interests, imposed...
1 second there. Why this bit is important, the analysis of the World Bank and the IMF and all that, is in response also to Marco Rubio's assertion of China's predatory practice. However, they call China a predator, China called them a plunderer. But it's important for us to understand the smear campaigns, the narrative, the hidden truths, the half-truths, you know, all of the galangin. Lovan, how are you?
Stringent financial programs on African countries. These programs often came with the requirement that African nations store their gold reserves as collateral for loans, which would never be repaid. Africa's gold, crucial to its economic development, was effectively locked away in foreign vaults, controlled by the Federal Reserve in New York. Here's a reminder to please like and share the video and subscribe to our channel to watch more videos on Black culture, history, civilization, and identity. Let's continue now. For decades, African nations were forced into debt traps by these global financial institutions. Debbie. Countries like Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, countries rich in natural resources, were made to accept high-interest loans in exchange for the very reserves that should have been used to build their economies. The gold was taken, the debt piled up, and Africa was left impoverished, while the West thrived off the continent's resources. These nations were paying for loans with their wealth, yet they remained dependent on Western aid and loans to survive. But Africa wasn't the only one bearing the brunt of this financial exploitation. The US and European powers knew exactly how to turn these resources into profit, all while keeping Africa in a perpetual state of economic dependency. As part of the IMF and World Bank agreements, African gold reserves were sent to the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, where they remained as collateral for the loans. No strings attached, no repayment in sight, just a locked vault with Africa's gold sitting untouched, while Western powers reaped the rewards. This strategy was brilliantly designed to not only disempower African nations, but to ensure they remained indebted to Western financial systems. Financial dependence became the chain that kept Africa from rising. The resources were still being taken, but now they were taken through financial agreements, making it much harder for the average African citizen to see or understand the damage being done. Instead of direct colonization, Africa was enslaved by economic systems designed to bleed the continent dry without a single soldier on the ground. But this wasn't just a consequence of bad policy or poor governance. This was deliberate. It was a systematic effort by the West to ensure that Africa would never be allowed to gain economic power. The global economic structure was set up in such a way that African countries couldn't use their natural resources for their benefit. Even as African nations became independent, the financial levers were still firmly in Western hands. This led to a perpetual cycle of debt and dependency, where the gold, oil, diamonds, and other resources that could have fueled African development were instead funneled into the coffers of Western nations. The impact of this system can still be felt today. Africa is home to 30% of the world's mineral resources, yet it remains one of the poorest continents on Earth. Despite its wealth, Africa's economic development has been stifled, and much of its natural resources are still extracted and exported with minimal benefits to local populations. This is the legacy of Western exploitation, the same exploitation that Traoré and his allies are now working to dismantle. What Captain Ibrahim Traoré's demand for gold repatriation represents is not just a return of physical gold. It's a symbolic and material rejection of a long history of financial servitude. The gold reserves that were stripped from African nations and locked away in foreign banks are not just economic assets. They are a reminder of Africa's stolen potential, of what could have been had African nations been allowed to control their resources and build their futures. Reclaiming these assets is about breaking the chains that have bound Africa for so long. It's about taking back control, not just of gold, but of Africa's destiny. And this demand for gold repatriation doesn't just stop at financial systems, it challenges the very foundations of global inequality. Traoré's movement is a confrontation with the long-standing systems that have ensured that Africa remains poor while the West remains rich. It is a call to action for African leaders to reclaim what is rightfully theirs, to reshape the continent's future by using its wealth for the benefit of its people, rather than enriching foreign powers. In a world where African leaders have long struggled under the weight of external control and economic dependency, Ibrahim Traoré stands out as a beacon of resistance and bold action. Since taking power in Burkina Faso, Traoré has not only challenged the colonial financial systems that have kept his country and much of Africa trapped, but has also set a new path forward, one that demands sovereignty, independence, and control over Africa's natural resources. His actions, dramatic and audacious, represent a seismic shift in African politics that resonates far beyond Burkina Faso's borders. At the heart of Traoré's revolution is a call to reclaim Africa's gold reserves from the vaults of foreign powers. The gold repatriation movement is not just about retrieving physical gold, it is about dismantling the economic structures that have held Africa back for generations. But Traoré's agenda goes much further than that. In his quest for true independence, he has taken swift and decisive action, expelling French troops, terminating military agreements, and even nationalizing key industries, including gold mines. These bold steps reflect an uncompromising vision for the future of Burkina Faso and Africa at large, one where foreign powers no longer call the shots. One of the most significant and symbolic actions taken by Traoré was the expulsion of French troops from Burkina Faso. France, which has maintained military presence in former colonies across Africa.
Hey there, looking to make your money work harder? Open an XTB stocks and shares.
Africa for decades had long claimed to be an ally in the fight against insurgents. However, many African leaders, including Traoré, saw these forces not as protectors, but as reminders of a colonial past that has never truly ended. The presence of French soldiers in Burkina Faso, along with the continued influence of French-backed military agreements, was a stark reminder of how France still maintained its grip on African affairs, even decades after independence. By expelling French troops, Traoré signaled a new era of independence for Burkina Faso. This wasn't just a tactical move against foreign military presence. It was an emphatic statement about Africa's future. Burkina Faso, under Traoré's leadership, would no longer be beholden to France or any Western power for its security or governance. This is a bold defiance of the neo-colonial structures that continue to dominate Africa's political landscape, especially when it comes to military and economic intervention. It was an act that immediately resonated with other African nations, many of whom were similarly frustrated with the long-standing influence of former colonial powers on their soil. Beyond the military expulsion, Traoré has also taken critical steps to assert economic sovereignty. One of the key moves in his agenda has been the nationalization of Burkina Faso's gold mines. These mines have long been controlled by foreign corporations, which have extracted Africa's wealth with little to no benefit for the local population. The profits generated from the country's rich mineral resources have mostly flowed out of the country, leaving Burkina Faso with little to show for its wealth. The nationalization of the mines is not only a significant financial maneuver, it is a declaration that Burkina Faso will no longer allow foreign corporations.
Thanks to everyone who have just joined on TikTok. If you are not a follower of Global TV Advanced Potentials, please give us a follow so when we go live, you will get your notification. Thank you.
To exploit its resources for their gain. By taking control of these gold mines, Traoré has redirected the profits back into the hands of the Burkinabe people. The move marks a crucial step in his broader vision for economic self-reliance and independence. In a continent where resource extraction often leads to exploitation rather than development, this is a radical departure from the status quo. For the first time in decades, Burkina Faso has the potential to use its gold reserves to fuel its development, whether through investing in infrastructure, healthcare, or education, or by building a more diversified economy that doesn't rely on Western-backed financial systems. This action has drawn praise from other African leaders and movements who see it as a game changer for the continent. The idea that African nations should own and control the wealth beneath their soil, rather than handing it over to multinational corporations and foreign governments, is something that has been long debated but rarely implemented. Traoré's leadership is giving hope to those who have long believed that Africa must break free from the shackles of exploitation and take full control of its resources. But Traoré's vision...
Sorry, Kesho Wagwan. No, the labor right, them keep knocking down my TikTok platforms. But this one is called Global TV Advanced Potentials. You can find it easier and with the handle. The handle is at GTV358 group. You find me easier that way. At GTV358 group. That's the handle for the TikTok that I'm on tonight. Thanks to everyone who is liking and following. Please, let's continue.
Vision for a free and independent Burkina Faso doesn't stop at military or economic action. One of his most groundbreaking decisions was to erase the country's $4.7 billion debt. In a world where national debts often dictate policy and suppress economic growth, wiping out such a significant amount of debt is a radical move. This decision sends a clear message to the international financial community. Burkina Faso, and by extension Africa, will no longer bow to the demands of the IMF and World Bank, institutions that have historically tied the hands of African nations with crippling interest rates and unsustainable repayment plans. Erasing such a massive debt is not just about freeing up funds for development.
So when Marco Rubio come at the Caribbean and talk about China predatory loans or investment that cannot be repaid, I would want to ask Marco Rubio, Kesheri Reach, thank you, welcome. I would want to ask Marco Rubio, where you think China would get those practices from, Marco? Do you think anyone around have done that? Where do you think they would get that practice from? So that's why I would always encourage people not to always listen to United States propaganda, because the US always run around and say things that they cannot prove. There's Cuban doctors in several countries across the globe. To date, we are waiting for Marco Rubio and the Trump regime, or the Biden regime for that matter, to tell us in which country Debbie Jarvis reached. Oh, the ATEC, something on the summit. Sorry, me I asked a good fan so far on the phone, but good evening. Thank you for the follow. So when we hear America talk about China and predatory practice and trapping people in debt and all that, who you think China learned that from America?
It is a declaration of financial autonomy. By shedding the weight of debt, Burkina Faso is signaling to the world that it will not be held hostage by the financial systems that have kept it down for so long. This move empowers the country to make decisions based on its interests, rather than those dictated by foreign creditors. The significance of this debt clearance extends beyond Burkina Faso's borders. It serves as a blueprint for other African nations who are trapped in debt cycles and unable to invest in their future because they are constantly paying off loans. Traore's example demonstrates that it is possible to break free from these financial chains and take charge of a country's economic future. What's more, Traore's actions are inspiring others across the continent. As Burkina Faso challenges the Western financial order, countries like Mali and Niger are joining the fight for gold repatriation and economic sovereignty. This Pan-African movement is gaining momentum, and its reach extends beyond financial concerns. Traore's leadership has shown that it's possible to act decisively and break free from the cycles of dependence and exploitation that have defined Africa's relationship with the West. Ibrahim Traore's bold actions in Burkina Faso have not just transformed the country economically and politically, they have sent ripples across the globe, challenging long-established power structures and altering the trajectory of Africa's engagement with the rest of the world. His demands for gold repatriation, the expulsion of foreign military forces, and the nationalization of key industries represent a significant shift in the global geopolitical landscape. The effects of these moves extend far beyond the borders of Burkina Faso, as they are resonating throughout Africa and even sparking intense debates in Western capitals. For centuries, Africa has been treated as a resource-rich but politically weak continent, one that could be exploited for its gold, oil, and minerals without consequence. The West, particularly European and American powers, has long regarded Africa as a place to extract wealth without regard for the welfare of its people. But as Africa begins to awaken to the reality of its vast potential and wealth, the balance of power is starting to tilt. And in this shift, Ibrahim Traoré and his revolutionary movement are emerging as the leading vanguard for Africa's sovereignty. As Traoré and his allies push for gold repatriation and other sovereignty measures, the political implications of their actions are becoming increasingly clear. Africa is no longer content to be a passive participant in global geopolitics. Under the leadership of figures like Traoré, the continent is challenging the traditional power structures that have dominated international relations for centuries. One of the most profound impacts of Traoré's movement is its alignment with the BRICS nations: Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa.
Thank you.
The BRICS alliance has long advocated for reforms to the global economic system, seeking to break the dominance.
The credit goes to Black Culture Diary. They really do some good work on the geopolitical front and the rising of Africa, despite we do not hear a lot of these things in Western media. but Africa is really rising. And Mr. Toure's bold decision is changing leadership bit by bit, inch by inch, America, piece by piece across Africa. And if Africa rises, there's no doubt the Caribbean with strong leadership will also rise. But in particular to Jamaica, we need strong, bold leadership. Andrew Holness is just not it.
Of the US dollar and create a more equitable financial order. The push for gold-backed currencies, a move championed by countries like Russia and China, is gaining traction in Africa, where nations like Nigeria, South Africa, and Egypt are aligning with the BRICS countries to challenge the Western financial hegemony. Traore's call for gold repatriation is perfectly aligned with the BRICS agenda, as the movement towards gold-backed currencies threatens the stability of the US dollar. By demanding the return of Africa's gold reserves, Traore is not just addressing economic injustice in his own country. He is contributing to a larger, more strategic push to create a
The internet has become crowded and highly competitive. YouTube is currently a hub for all
multipolar world where Africa can play a decisive role. In this new order, Africa's vast reserves of gold, oil, and other resources will no longer be seen as commodities to be exploited by the West. They will be assets of global power. This growing alignment with BRICS nations signals a major shift in global politics. For decades, Western powers have viewed Africa as a subservient region, one that could be manipulated through aid packages, debt traps, and military intervention. But as African nations begin to reclaim their resources and align themselves with alternative power blocks like BRICS, the West is being forced to reconsider its strategies. The geopolitical shift initiated by Traore and his allies is not only about gold reserves or economic independence, it is about the broader rebalancing of power. Africa's resource wealth has long been the foundation upon which Western economies have thrived, yet the benefits of this wealth have never trickled down to the African people. By demanding that gold reserves be repatriated and taking control of local industries, African leaders are signaling that the continent's wealth will no longer be extracted to fuel foreign economies. It will be used to build Africa's future. The growing economic sovereignty of African nations like Burkina Faso has the potential to disrupt global financial markets. Western powers, particularly the US, have long relied on Africa's natural resources to fuel their economic growth. But with the gold repatriation movement gaining momentum, the flow of African resources to the West may start to reverse. The idea that African nations can leverage their gold to create an alternative financial system or even challenge the US dollar's dominance is an idea that is gaining steam. If successful, it would mark a paradigm shift in the global economic structure, one that would change the way the world views Africa, and one that would allow African nations to play a much stronger role in shaping their futures. The bold actions of Traore and other African leaders have, of course, not gone unnoticed by Western powers. As the demand for gold repatriation grows, and African nations begin to break free from Western economic control, France and the US have resorted to a variety of tactics to maintain their influence. The French government has already begun to cut aid to Burkina Faso and Mali, two countries that have moved to reclaim their gold reserves. These cuts in foreign aid are a typical response from Western powers when they feel their influence is being threatened. It is a clear message: comply with our economic control or face isolation. But these Western tactics are not new. They are part of a long history of neocolonialism, where Western powers continue to use economic leverage to control African nations. The manipulation of aid, the imposition of debt, and the backing of unpopular regimes have been tools used to maintain dominance over Africa for decades. The recent actions of France and the US are nothing more than a return to these tried and tested methods. However, Traore's leadership signals that Africa is no longer willing to accept these tactics without resistance. With the rise of BRICS alliances and the growing desire for economic sovereignty, African countries are beginning to reject the traditional forms of manipulation that have kept them in a state of dependency. The challenge for Western powers is that they can no longer take the African continent's resources for granted. Africa is starting to demand respect, and with figures like Ibrahim Traoré leading the charge, the world may be witnessing the dawn of a new African renaissance. Do you think anyone can stop Africa from changing? Can the West be the master? Let us know in the comment section. Will Africa unite for a bigger purpose? Do you want to watch more videos like this one? If so, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon next to it. We have decided to bring videos on something nobody talks about: the Black culture, civilization, history, and evidence about how glorious Blacks have been. Thanks for watching, and until the next video, stay tuned.
Leadership of our lifetime. And this video is a fitting one to explain to you why you must not listen to the United States propaganda. Brick by brick America, inch by inch Europe, the control over Africa's resources and economic progression must come down. That control we want to have must come down. America economically is but a wandering spirit heading to the graveyard. America should be allowed to walk to the cemetery and stay there. As I regularly said, America has given the time to advance and develop this world. The America who's running around the world now talking about human exploitation and human trafficking. How rich America. The America that the most we know of is that they march around the world plundering and murdering. That's what we know of America. And this America is playing the reverse psychology now that China economic rise is exploitative. And China is exploiting Africa and the Caribbean. Cuba is exploiting their doctors. Is the usual propaganda that the United States carry out against socialist or communist country. Bear in mind, America or China tantamount. But the World Bank and the IMF, what everybody has said if it cling to, which we will never achieve development under, because the IMF and the World Bank is our problem. America's aid and foreign policy is our problem. We will not get out of their club until we have decisive leadership like Mr. Traoré. Do we have that type of leadership in our country, or the men in our politics as that's strong enough? And I'm talking both sides of the coin here now. I'm not just talking the jellyback prime minister we have at the moment. I'm talking on both sides of the coin at the moment. The other thing to look at, are we the people ready for that type of move from a strong leadership which is willing to forego sanction, which is willing to overhaul the direction of our country, to prioritize agriculture, to invest in development, to have meaning partnership with BRICS that drives Jamaica forward and not be used as a tool for other countries' progression, as we have been with the West for however long a relationship we have been engaged in with them. So it is important that we don't always get clouded by the propaganda of America. And this is why we must focus on their drive at the US foreign policy that has been pushed in the Caribbean under Donald Trump as a counter to China and any emerging acceptance of BRICS for the rest of the Caribbean. You know, Cuba is moving forward on that. But they're losing grounds in Africa fast. It may look slow to some of us, but it is moving. Mindset is changing across Africa. The people of Africa has always wanted this change. A few leaders have now come on board and is interested in the change that the people requires. And it can only be a good thing for the rise of Africa. Now, the state of the American economy get to where it is because of the same exploitation that they are running around blaming China about. When America deindustrialize and take its industry to the eastern side of town, it was because of cheap labor. It was exploitation. America. Sandra Ellis, how you do? A cheap labor and exploitation, you know, because Britain and America were in such an imperial mindset that they have reached to a scale of development where nobody in the world is going to come up to them or pass them. So let us use the world let us chill back and use the world to make us money. China was more clever. India also, because they are rising fast as well. But for Africa and the Caribbean to rise out of this clutch of US aid, the IMF, the World Bank, US security commitments, and all of these. If US don't want to trade with anybody, the United States alone are going to leave in the dark. These are not the days when Europe and America runs the trading bloc. It's not like that anymore. The trading bloc has been moved to the east. That is where it is at. Marco Rubio coming to Jamaica with empty promises. Wholeness up until today, dear, we haven't got a decisive decision on wholeness Galangin and the Cuban doctors. I'm still not clear. He have said something. I'm still not clear of what it means and what his intention. Should Trump, in his docility, ratchet up the pressure? So, I hope we can pay attention to where geopolitics is going, because wherever the web of geopolitics turns, it affects us. If it's an economic warfare between two or so countries, it affects everybody globally. If it's a conventional warfare, bombs start dropping on all of that, it affects everybody, because the sale of grains and gas and movement of all of them, something they become so on and so forth. So don't think, because this is about the big players, we should not understand what is going on, and we should not understand how these things affect us and the decisions, for that matter, that our leaders make. So I hope, especially the way Jamaica is between in the middle of the two major powers at the moment, I hope we pay close attention, because to be frank, shit can literally go down at any time, you know? Let us take a quick break, and then when we return, we will go right over to Portland.
Oh, thy peace, God of my salvation. Because the mouth of the sinful and wicked is so dead. Rastafari. Come with I. Rastaman throw one stone, and it break a bad feeling to all wicked men. Not a people there. Make a man throw one stone, and it bring a bad feeling to all wicked men. Only when man like Marcus Garvey speak, wicked men would I hear. Hear not hear. Instead of that, they only sit aside and rub and cheat, and not press the poor. Make God what I seen to. Make a man throw one stone, and they bring a bad feeling to all wicked men. Oh, what a plan. Make a man throw one stone, and it bring a bad feeling to all wicked men. My favorite man, if Rasta make a progressive move, wicked men are red. How they want to see the day them can sell out Rasta and sell it out. I sell out Babylon. They give man throw one stone, and they bring a bad feeling to all wicked men. They give man throw one stone, and it bring a bad feeling to all wicked men. If Rasta make a progressive move, wicked men are red. How they want to see the dead can sell out Rasta and sell out. I sell out Babylon. Just stop on the Friday. You might throw a stone, and it bring a bad feeling to all wicked men. Oh, what a black thing. You might throw a stone, and it bring a bad feeling to all wicked men. You have eyes to see, let him see. You have ears to hear, let them hear. What a prophet must say. President Mandela was in prison for 20 odd years. And he leave from the prison and take the seat of the president. Stone one. Big man throw one stone, and it bring a bad feeling to all wicked men. Oh, what a black big man throw one stone, and it bring a bad feeling to all wicked men. Rasta man throw one stone, and it bring a bad feeling to all wicked men.
Yes, thanks and welcome back. That was a rendition of Culture by the Lipstick Queens right out of Ghana. Welcome back, everyone. And of course, we will turn to Portland. Who do we start, pan? Wife or husband? Who really do we start on? Wife or husband? Wife or husband? Who really do we start on? Bear with. I have a feeling we should start with the docile wife, isn't it? I have a feeling young DT World Wagwan said we should start with the docile wife. Nakpa and Vaz here in aid for you know. Make we see if and Vaz know what broke a wall. We want if and Vaz know what broke a road yeah. So somebody knock on our hearing aid and see if it turn on for with it. So when we talk, and that's here, so we talk to her. We have a 2-part video clip of Miss Vaz to play, and then we'll have some questions to ask after that. So let us listen to money spending, public money spending and work. Done, half done, not done. Where the money is, who get it back, who kept it? And Vaz.
The Moortown Maroon Water Crisis. Part 1. Did the Moortown Maroon Council receive millions of dollars for a water project?
Time will take care of just of everything, right? And with time, we will see the things that come to the fore.
Yeah.
We are presently improving with the aid of JSIF, the one in Moortown again, that will bring water to Moortown, Seaman's Valley, and places in Windsor that is not getting an adequate supply of water now.
In the clip before this, from 2022, Colonel Sterling spoke about a grant he was to receive from JSIF to improve Moortown, Seaman's Valley, and Windsor water supply. Anne-Marie Vaz confirmed this $80 million Jamaican water project on her official Instagram profile. On her Instagram, Anne-Marie Vaz said in a post dated the 21st of October, 2022, "Today we are happy to announce that the $70 million Windsor water project, initiated by the Moortown Maroon Council and funded by JSIF, which started on August 30th, 2021, is finally completed. It was not pretty to get them heavy pipes up that trek. We thank our workers. This upgrade, which now supplies water to Seaman's Valley, Piggery, Lower Moortown, and Chocolate Walk, involved expansion of the catchment, installed larger pipes, and building a chlorination house. After a meeting with some of our residents, we turn on the water. Oh, happy Friday. House-to-house connection will begin on Monday. We thank the government of Jamaica for this well-needed upgrade." Boom.
Yes,
Also sharing a few of the other good things that happened over the past few days. Workers meeting in fellowship with Counselor Caretaker Shanique Green. Can't stress enough how happy we are to be back together for in-person meetings. We made a contribution to resumption of the in-person staging of #NannyFest. We were more than happy to contribute to the successful celebration of this indomitable and powerful woman, Nanny of the Maroons. So what happened? How was the money spent? Do the Moortown Maroons have proper running water now? Let's find out in part 2. Thanks for watching.
Let's move over to part 2. Go the other direction.
The Moortown Maroon Water Crisis. Part 2. How were the millions spent? Recap, we showed you in Part 1 in Marie Vaz, a member of parliament for East Portland, handing over tens of millions of Jamaican dollars to the Moortown Maroon chief, Colonel Wallace Sterling, for a massive water project. She stated this project was to expand the water catchment, install larger pipes, among other things. Let's find out more. How was the money spent? First, let's have a look at the water system as it currently is.
What we saw did not look like the catchment was expanded at all, but pipes barely tied in place in the river by vines. This means that if the Moortown Maroon community does not get rain in the dry season, because there is no catchment, there will be no water in Moortown as the river will be below the pipes. The future of the Moortown Maroon community is looking uncertain because water is life. We even found that there were cows at the water source, no doubt passing waste and causing pollution in the water. It even
You remember this word, Anvaz, fecal coliform. Do you remember that word? Fecal coliform. Shit water, Miss Vaz.
Looks like instead of a proper filtration system, there were old, possibly dirty feed bags that used to contain chicken feed and God knows what else, tied to the pipes instead of a proper filtration system. This is the water that the Moortown Maroons rely on for drinking, bathing, and other household needs.
Is this the expanded catchment? Are these the upgraded pipes? We see here that Windsor's pipes were upgraded. But what about Moortown? Where did Moortown's money go? Why has the catchment been condemned? Most importantly, what will happen this summer when the water level on the river drops below the pipes?
Anvaz, who cut them bamboo they feel? The bamboo them Anvaz, where you line up across the river bed. I hope I know Holland bamboo them you go cut down, you know. I hope to God, Anvaz. Them bamboo there, where you run across the river. Hope to God on a Holland bamboo. You got to night. And cut out the bamboo them out of Holland bamboo. Run them cross river. Say I run pipeline. I hope to God on a Holland bamboo them you go cut out. Gonna take people money for joke. $80 million of it. How much I to walk with in a cash? On the Labor Rights Club walk with millions in a cash, say a project can go do, you know. And then that's why rat you see, hurricane and cockroach can destroy the receipt them when we call for receipts.
These are important questions that we need Colonel Sterling to answer. And if he cannot answer them, should he continue to be the chief of the Maroons of the Rio Grande Valley? Or is it time for a Maroon election?
I would be a damn good dictator, be a damn good dictator, be a damn good dictator. I would be a damn good dictator. I tell you that.
Anvaz and Colonel Sterling, Elga Fletcher. $80 million project. 80, not 80 Jamaica dollar in Anvaz. $80 million. And you're going to Holland bamboo. Go cut down bamboo. Take fine bale bag and tie them up cross river. Until we Anvaz say that's $80 million project. I wonder if Integrity Commission hear about that. I wonder if the Integrity Commission here say Anvaz do a water project for $80 million. $80 million. See the few bamboo cross the river. And there was a part of it, people. A dirty water and vase a serve up through pipe. Cause you hear the cow a shit in there. You hear the feeding bag and them something there in there. You know the fecal coliform things. That is what has been happening to the people of Portland. Colonel Sterling, a late night, me can't shout loud. Me soon replayed Kate M. Where the people them money there? Oh, did you give Anvaz? How much Anvaz give to you, Colonel Sterling? How much money Anvaz walk in a crocus bag? Because we know the labor right them when them do them thieving project. Then walk with millions in crocus bag. Just ask Babsy how much Babsy can go Portland in our bosoms. Ask Babsy how much million Babsy can go Portland in her bosom. In a bosom. Not anything were regulated through the financial system. Ask Babsy Grange how much money Babsy Grange carry Portland in her bosom. Cash in a bosom. That's why they cannot account for anything. Colonel Sterling, we want to know how much Anvaz give you. We want to know how much you give back Anvaz in a kickback, Colonel Sterling. And between you and Anvaz, we want to tell you what happened to the Holland bamboo, the bamboo they want to cut out the Holland bamboo. We want to tell you about the fine bail bag them and how much they cost when if not change left out our money. $80 million Anvaz and Colonel Sterling. Job badly done. Let's play it back for the benefit of those on YouTube. But for TikTok, I may have to upload it to this channel when I'm finished if you are not aware of the video. So you will be able to see the images despite you hearing the audio. Then people are PUSS posts. Them people are be Patacats, a bunch of Patacats. Let's go back to part 1. Hold on.
The Moortown Maroon Water Crisis. Part 1. Did the Moortown Maroon Council receive millions of dollars for a water project?
Time will take care of just of everything, right? And with time, we will see the things that come to the fore.
Yeah.
We are presently improving with the aid of JSIF, the one in Moortown again, that will bring water to Moortown, Seaman's Valley, and places in Windsor that is not getting an adequate supply of water now.
In the clip before this, from 2022, Colonel Sterling spoke about a grant he was to receive from JSIF to improve Moortown, Seaman's Valley, and Windsor water supply. Anne-Marie Vaz confirmed this $80 million Jamaican water project on her official Instagram profile. On her Instagram, Anne-Marie Vaz said in a post dated the 21st of October, 2022, "Today we are happy to announce that the $70 million Windsor water project, initiated by the Moortown Maroon Council and funded by JSIF, which started on August 30th, 2021, is finally completed. It was not pretty to get them heavy pipes up that trek. We thank our workers. This upgrade, which now supplies water to Seaman's Valley, Piggery, Lower Moortown, and Chocolate Walk, involved expansion of the catchment, installed larger pipes, and building a chlorination house. After meeting with some of our residents, we turned on the water. Oh, happy Friday. House-to-house connection will begin on Monday. We thank the government of Jamaica for this well-needed upgrade." Boom. Also sharing a few of the other good things that happened over the past few days. Workers meeting in fellowship with Counselor Caretaker Shanique Green. Can't stress enough how happy we are to be back together for in-person meetings. We made a contribution to resumption of the in-person staging of #NannyFest. We were more than happy to contribute to the successful celebration of this indomitable and powerful woman, Nanny of the Maroons. So what happened? How was the money spent? Do the Moortown Maroons have proper running water now? Let's find out in part 2. Thanks for watching.
Let's move over to part 2. Carmen Peart, Evan Bradford, Valerie Godfavor on one list, Elga Fletcher, Renice Nicholson, Evan Bradford, Monica Hawthorne. Everybody, good evening all, and welcome. Let us go now to part 2 and see how the money was spent and what it was spent on Vaz. God bless. Wagwan.
The Moortown Maroon Water Crisis. Part 2. How were the millions spent? Recap. We showed you in Part 1 and Marie Vaz, the Member of Parliament for East Portland, handing over tens of millions of Jamaican dollars to the Moortown Maroon chief, Colonel Wallace Sterling, for a massive water project. She stated this project was to expand the water catchment, install larger pipes, among other things. Let's find out more. How was the money spent? First, let's have a look at the water system as it currently is.
What we saw did not look like the catchment was expanded at all, but pipes barely tied in place in the river by vines. This means that if the Moortown Maroon community does not get rain in the dry season, because there is no catchment, there will be no water in Moortown as the river will be below the pipes. The future of the Moortown Maroon community is looking uncertain because water is life. We even found that there were cows at the water source, no doubt passing waste and causing pollution in the water. It even looks like instead of a proper filtration system, there were old, possibly dirty feed bags that used to contain chicken feed and God knows what else, tied to the pipes instead of a proper.
Talk it truth. And a bamboo them there. And a dung a Holland bamboo. And vase take night. The man him boy them in a chuck. And them in a pipeline. Them ya bamboo tied together. And vase can trick me. And vase me can trick Uno. But and vase can trick me. Them ya no pipeline. Them ya so bamboo and take night go cut out a Holland bamboo and take fine bale bag, tie up Cross River and tell we say $80 million and vase. How much of that Babsy carry up in a bosom and how much go back down in a Babsy bosom out there?
Proper filtration system. This is the water that the Moortown Maroons rely on for drinking, bathing, and other household needs.
Is this the expanded catchment? Are these the upgraded pipes? We see here that Windsor's pipes were upgraded. But what about Moortown? Where did Moortown's money go? Why has the catchment been condemned? Most importantly, what will happen this summer when the water level on the river drops below the pipes?
These are important questions that we need Colonel Sterling to answer. And if he cannot answer them, should he continue to be the chief of the Maroons of the Rio Grande Valley? Or is it time for a Maroon election?
I would be a damn good dictator. Be a damn good dictator. Be a damn good dictator.
We want to know where the money is, sir, ma'am. Oh, them have bamboo. You say so for them have bamboo at Portland, but they need to tell you where they get the bamboo from. Whether Portland, St. Elizabeth, or anywhere in Jamaica, and Vaz and Colonel Sterling got take night cut bamboo and take fine bale bag and binding wire, tie them up Cross River. That was $80 million worth of project, Jamaica. 80, not 80,000, So Portland people bamboo you go cut out. Not 80,000, Jamaica. 80 million. Not 80,000. Because where did they so? The few pieces of bamboo were unpaid the boy them for cut. No value that. The few pieces of bamboo were unvazed. Who's that? Is Corinne? Good evening. The few pieces of bamboo were unvazed. Pay the boy them to go cut and take chuck jar come at the riverside. Unvazed can't tell we say that value $80 million. So we want to know from Colonel Sterling, how much Anvaz give you, Joan, and how much you have to give them back. How much you have to sign to Colonel Sterling, and how much you get where you never signed to. Can Anvaz or Colonel Sterling pay and provide us any documentation? Integrity Commission, you know, hear about this? $80 million. Want to see this of Jamaica? The little clip, the two clip them we play, and we want to see what is there that you would say that this was a project. Any school picking were bored per holiday, can't fix the thing that we used to do on school, and when we did on school holiday, we walk and make up things. Kayla, good evening. Are there something that we used to do when we are picking in? When we off school on board, what you see them that they have say is a $80 million project. I same thing with any board picnic can go do. Any bored teenager can achieve that, can knock up that across the road. Jamaica is full of springs, streams, rivers, valleys, and waterway. And if we do get like a water, shit water, them want to call it fecal coliform or contamination or bacteria. Shit water. It is what you all are giving us. That's why I regularly tell Jamaica people, our standpipe in the 80s were giving us a better service than these ones in our toilet and kitchen, in our bathroom and kitchen. Are they not? Because if the one them you know in our bathroom and kitchen do work, it's generally shit or mud water that comes through it, isn't it? How does this balance with such a good economy? It always confuses me. How does these lack of investment, lack of maintenance, how do these gel with the standard of the economy, that the economy is in, that it has never been in before? Them something, gel together, $80 million and vase. $80 million. You heard that, yes, $80 million worth of project. And Vaz and Colonel Sterling ought to be investigated. And Vaz and Colonel Sterling ought to be investigated for this project, because we want to know where the $80 million there. Because we know that it don't spend this. So we are certain of what we saw. What we saw, any bored teenager, Tiny, could knock that together on school holidays. Blake Wagwan. Any bored teenager could knock that together on school holidays. So we want to know from Colonel Sterling and Anvaz, what happened to that 800 million? How much Babsy Grains turn up a Portland with in our bosom in cash? Millions of it. On a receipt? Or rat piss pan it or barrel blow it with. Remember, that was what they told the local government corporation, told the what's you call it? Murdo, the Auditor General. Them tell the Auditor General, rat, piss pan it and jar with the rest and bite up some. And then, oopsie daisy, barrel come and wet up and blow away. So we can't provide the receipt. We cannot provide the receipt. Counter rats. Thank you very much, Tiny. Counter rat. We can't provide the receipt. And Vaz and Colonel Sterling ought to be investigated for this $80 million. Because we, from what we saw in that video clip, nothing don't spend this up. Them could have go chop the bamboo them at night Then can go anybody full cub, go pick up fine bale bag, and they go teach them up Cross River at night time. Do it. Just bear with us a second, please.
God of my salvation, because the mouth of the sinful and wicked is open. Rastafari. Come with us. Rastaman throw one stone, and it bring a bad feeling to all wicked men. Not a people there. Make a man throw one stone, and it bring a bad feeling to all wicked men.
Welcome back. The husband, the minister, the MP, the crook, the rapist, the murderer. Yes, Darrell Vaz. Your time now. Darrell Vaz not make a statement yet. We want to hear from Mr. Vaz. Certainly. We want to hear from Darrell Vaz. Darrell Vaz's silence, as I said, is rubbing me the wrong side of the wall, isn't it, Vazi?
Whoa, yo. We need help, Jesus. Jamaica need help. Shift the parliament. Shift the election. Shift everything. Remove them out there. Take out the cockroach. Take out the thief. Take out the criminal them. Take out the thief them. Take out the murderer them. Take out the gang leader them. Out of parliament. Take them out. From Portland. Take them out. I hear Portland. Me I go to Portland. Why me I travel to Portland? Take out somebody, man or woman.
The husband. The husband. Samuel Dixon, 40. A businessman in eastern northern Jamaica side of town. A friend of Darrell Vaz. Businesses across both constituencies of Portland, East and West, gas station, supermarket, car mart, auto parts, and the like of it. A financial supporter to Darrell Vaz's quest for control of Portland. His businesses is always used to support Darrell Vaz. Political work, such like and such forth. Like any project or anything Darrell Vaz had to do where he have to spend money. Darrell Vaz don't necessarily have to wait and go through the proper procurement mechanism. He can just send you down a Frati, go pick up X, Y, Z, East, North, or West. As well as that, Darrell Vaz uses the services of the businessman for one, filling up his cars with petrol when them are going to do them political works, as well as when Mr. Vaz is doing his food drive program. Yes, Dwight, that's why I say Eastern, Northern Jamaica, because I know he has business in the St. Anne's, perhaps the St. Mary as well. Darrell Vaz also uses the service of his business for his food package purposes. So Mr. Dixon is no stranger to Mr. Vaz. In fact, they have very good rapport and interaction, connection, business and politically. Prior to Mr. Dixon's death, there have been some recent shootings and killings in Portland which Mr. Vaz came out and have things to say. Since the death of Mr. Dixon, Mr. Vaz has been utterly silent as a lamb. A businessman in his constituency, his personal acquaintance, somebody who supports his political quest. He uses the service of his business. They have business and offices across the street from each other. Mr. Vaz has not publicly condemned the killing of the businessman or his friend. He has not publicly made his sympathy or condolences known on the death of Mr. Dixon. It is also said that Darrell Vaz regularly get loan from Mr. Dixon to support his political brumalarkies. Words also have it that Frotty was going to go back to his original political allegiance for the upcoming general election, which is supporting the People's National Party. Sometime shortly before the murder, days or so before, it is also said, hot off the press, good evening, Mr. Vaz and Mr. Dixon had a punch-up over money. Mr. Dixon has since been brutally slain. As a friend of Mr. Vaz, political donor and supporter of Mr. Vaz, a businessman across the parish of Portland, that Mr. Vaz and his wife are the MPs. We're both MP, hot off the press, thank you, uses the service of Mr. Dixon's business for their political gaming and gaining, have not come out and say public condolences, have not come out and condemn the killing of Mr. Dixon. 80 spank shell, Mr. Vaz. 80 spank shell. This is why it allows me to ask the question, who is Darrell Vaz hitman? Could it be a street corner lady, members of the security services? Which of the driver got punched down, Darrell Vaz, in the altercation between yourself and Mr. Dixon? Why is it that Darrell Vaz is so silent on the brutal murder of his friend, political acquaintance, political donor, such alike and such a forth? Is there anything that Mr. Vaz could help the police with in relation to the investigation in Mr. Dixon's death? But tell him if Darrell Vaz silence rub me. Bad, because Darrell Vaz shouldn't be so silent, because of what Darrell Vaz I tell we say. From certain leeches and comooches come up Portland, this and that start happen. and he's going to flush them out. He has already spoken to the JCF. You remember Darrell Vaz? I'm going to look back for that video. I don't have it to hand now. But you remember when Darrell Vaz said that? The flushing out of Fraughty, Mr. Vaz, looked like it was professionally done. Look like I said, make sure the job get done. If you're clean, Mr. Vaz, why wouldn't you want to condemn the killing of your friend, businessman, political associate, and financier? MJC, wouldn't it be the right thing to do? Real sweet, Esther Dwyer, ML Smith. Mr. Vaz, wouldn't it be the right thing to do, the moral thing, the human thing, Mr. Vaz, to do? Your silence, Darrell Vaz, is worrying for the fact that weeks ago you spoke in tantrum on similar issues. But this time, Mr. Vaz, it is your friend, a friend who you just had a fight with. A friend, Mr. Vaz, who you had a fight with. Beach and teach, pin J bless message for me, Mr. Webster. Can you make me see the message, sir, please? And Darrell Vaz want us to believe that Darrell Vaz silent is because it not have nothing to do with him. Darrell Vaz silent is because Darrell Vaz possible is not aware of the incident. Because Darrell Vaz not aware that his friend has been murdered, the man who he had a punch up with, the man who he was having argument with over money. AJ don't confirm the Manchineal was also killed a Vaz henchman. Locks the daisy. Well, anytime you talk about criminality, you see it on Vaz face anyway. Vaz face look like him just come from around the corner, come from killing somebody and come back up on the police same time. That's the look what upon Vaz face. So you know, say, Vaz is a criminal. Vaz name always aligned to criminal. One thing with Vaz, you would think as a government minister, Vaz would stick in that circle there. No, most of Vaz big connection and parry them are some ex or current drug dealer, drug lord, a lot of them deportee from the Western foreign world. And them people there. And Vaz in a cahoots together. That's why the Minister of Government always in a criminality. But I know not new for the Minister of Government. We don't know Vaz always in a the tangling. But I hope when the people of Portland go to the poll, they can get answers about the $80 million project. And I hope when the Moortown people vote in for Colonel Sterling can be honest with them about how much money him get from Anvaz, how much him have to sign to, how much him have to give back. Nothing get done in our country, my people. Crime cannot be solved. Let me reverse and not say cannot. And rephrase that will not. Crime in our society, in particular, will not be solved. We will not get our hands on it until we can hold businessmen, politicians, and the security service to account. Until we can clean up crime from the Houses of Parliament, from the office of the Prime Minister, right down, Jamaica will remain in this constant stagnant state. Because the way we are fighting crime at the moment, we're never going to get rid of it. We're never going to see solution to the problem. Because the same politicians that are sending the servicemen on the street to confiscate illegal guns, or the same politicians who are importing illegal guns into the country and distributing them to the youths of the ghetto. And then it's those same politicians who ordered the security service to go into the ghetto and shoot down those very youths, who those very own same politician and businessman put guns into the hands of the youths of the ghetto. We are fighting crime from the wrong direction. We are fighting crime from the wrong direction. It is the root cause of crime that we ought to tackle, which are politicians, businessmen, and police. Thank you very much. We need a RICO law in Jamaica. Certainly do. Certainly do. But thank you all for being here tonight. And if you don't see Darrell, tell him, say we want to know about him friend that we want to know when, we want him to come out, come condemn it. At least, Darrell Vaz, a condemnation of the brutal slaying of your friend would be a start, Mr. Vaz. Let's start somewhere, Darrell, isn't it? Let's start somewhere. A public condemnation, Mr. Vaz, of the brutal slaying of your friend Fraughty would be a start. And Vaz providing us some account of that $80 million for that project of bamboos and fine bale bag would also be a start. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a lovely weekend. I might come out tomorrow. I don't know what time because it's Saturday. You know, Saturday is the day where I go limb lazy and have sleep paralysis and all of that. But I want to look at Damien's Senate presentation today, and I would have to do that in one show. I don't have the time for that tonight. So we will be possibly coming out here tomorrow. Don't know what time to tell you yet, but keep an eye on Global TV, whether it be on YouTube or TikTok, and you'll certainly know when or Jingle Bell goes cha-la-la. But thank you all very much for your continuous support. And I want to say an amazing thank you to those on TikTok everyone on TikTok who are helping us to grow and support the channel. Thank you very much for your support. If you are new to our channel, whether it be YouTube or TikTok, make sure you give us a subscription or a follow so you know when we go live. Thank you very much. Have a great weekend, and your company was great throughout the week. Thank you, and good night from Global TV.
If you don't like missing out on the latest shows but still enjoy classic hits, then Global TV Group 358 is your perfect match. Global TV Group 358 isn't just another channel, it's your ultimate TV experience. From breaking news to binge-worthy dramas and timeless classics, we've got it all. Our unique blend of original content and global favorites means there's something for everyone. And guess what? With GTVG's seamless streaming, you can watch anywhere, anytime. Plus, our interactive features let you be part of the action. So, whether you're a seasoned binge watcher or a casual viewer, Global TV Group 358 is here to keep you entertained day and night. Don't just watch TV, experience it with Global TV Group 358. Subscribe now and never miss a moment.